Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Kyle Kopko, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, also known as CCAP, which represents each of Pennsylvania's 67 counties. And thank you for joining us here in Perry County today. I especially want to thank Commissioner Frank Campbell and his fellow commissioners Bill Lyons and Brenda Watson, and the Perry County Assessment Office for hosting us here today. We're here to discuss one of CCAP's top legislative priorities, creating a fair, predictable, and sustainable system for county property reassessments. So let's start here. There's a popular perception that reassessment means that taxes are going up. That's not true. By law, reassessments should be revenue neutral. So why is this topic important? Why is reassessments important? Because the lack of a regular assessment leads to an unfair and inequitable local tax system for our taxpayers. That, in turn, creates a cascade of problems for municipalities, school districts, and counties for whom property tax is often their primary source of revenue to deliver critical services for our communities. Additionally, when outdated or outmoded assessment systems are in place, that creates uncertainty for economic development purposes. You may be surprised to know that Pennsylvania is the only state in the country to not have a mandated cycle for property assessments, and nor does the Commonwealth provide adequate support to assist counties in this important function of local government. Now, counties understand the importance of maintaining fair and equitable assessments. But counties also face significant challenges. Reassessments are among the most complex, expensive, and resource-intensive responsibilities that local governments can undertake. And don't forget, reassessments are supposed to be revenue neutral. They require specialized expertise, substantial financial investment, and years of planning and implementation. All of this costs counties. And again, reassessment is supposed to be revenue neutral. The reality is that Pennsylvania currently lacks a consistent statewide framework to help counties carry out this important responsibility. And as a result, reassessment practices vary significantly from county to county, creating uncertainty for local governments and taxpayers alike. Now, counties are not asking for the Commonwealth to take over reassessments. We're simply asking for a partnership and the tools to get the job done. A reassessment system that works better for taxpayers, works better for counties and our local governments. It also promotes greater confidence in the fairness of Pennsylvania's property tax system and ultimately makes Pennsylvania stronger. To discuss the specific reforms counties are proposing, it is my pleasure to introduce the chair of CCAP's Assessment and Taxation Policy Committee and Huntington County Commissioner Jeff Thomas. Commissioner.
Thank you, Kyle. As he said, I'm Jeff Thomas, and I serve as Huntington County Commissioner and chair of CCAP's Assessment Taxation Policy Committee. Counties across Pennsylvania agree on a simple principle. Property taxes should be fair, accurate, and reflective of current market conditions. Today, counties are united around three key reforms. First, we support establishing a predictable reassessment schedule. Too often, reassessments occur only after years of delay, growing inequities, or costly litigation. A regular reassessment cycle would provide certainty for taxpayers, local governments, and the real estate market. CCAP supports a phased approach that would gradually move counties toward a recurring reassessment schedule. We are proposing beginning in 2032, reassessments would occur on a staggered regional basis, giving counties adequate time to prepare while avoiding the disruption of having every county reassess at once. Second, counties need dedicated and sustainable funding. Reassessments are expensive, and these costs continue to increase. Counties could be forced to choose between maintaining accurate assessments and funding other critical public services. We support local funding options that help counties maintain modern and effective assessment systems, along with the creation of a statewide grant program to help assist counties with reassessment costs. Third, counties support stronger statewide coordination and oversight. Pennsylvania, as Dr. Kepo said, is one of the few states without a centralized entity responsible for coordinating assessment practices. Counties would benefit from a designated state agency that can administer funding, provide technical assistance, establish uniform standards, promote consistency across the Commonwealth. These reforms are not about increasing taxes. In fact, reassessment themselves are revenue neutral. They do not determine tax rates, nor do they automatically generate additional revenue. What assessments do accomplish is fairness. They help ensure that property owners are contributing their appropriate share based on current property values. At the end of the day, this is about strengthening public confidence in the property tax system. To provide the perspective of the professionals responsible for administrating and implementing property assessments across the Commonwealth, I am pleased to introduce Jocelyn Tyoge, Chief Assessor and member of the Assessors Association of Pennsylvania. Josh.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Commissioner Thomas. My name is Josh Zane. I'm the Chief Assessor and Director of Tax Claim for Tioga County. As a past president of the Assessors Association of Pennsylvania, or AAP, I'm glad to be here in Perry County today to affirm the AAP's support of CCAP's reassessment priority, an issue our association has supported for a long time. The AAP was founded in 1947 by a group of assessors committed to strengthening education and professionalism in our field. Today, the AAP remains the leading source of education and technical support for county assessment personnel across the state. Through our committees and membership, we have worked with CCAP, the Local Government Commission, and the Pennsylvania Legislature to evaluate long-standing assessment issues and promote practical, workable solutions. Most recently, our work with the Local Government Commission's Assessment Reform Task Force from 2016 to 2018 produced several pieces of legislation and best practices. That work was an important step towards modernizing our antiquated property assessment system. And what we're discussing today is a continuation of those efforts. Right now, the only statewide standard governing assessments in Pennsylvania is Article 8, Section 1 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which requires all taxes shall be uniform upon the same class of subjects within the territorial limits of the authority levying the tax, and shall be levied and collected under general laws. In summary, if you and your neighbor have a similar property, you should be paying the same amount in taxes. You know, we all take this requirement seriously, but unlike every other state, Pennsylvania has no required reassessment cycle and no statistical trigger to prompt action when assessments fall out of line with market conditions or industry standards. As a result, reassessments have become generational in some counties, with counties going 20, 40, and even 60 years without updating their values. These long gaps can lead to sticker shock, with property owners facing large increases and changes all at once, changes that would have been handled incrementally if reassessments occurred on a regular basis as they do in every other state. It also makes the decision to move forward with a reassessment a very difficult one for our county commissioners. Too often counties are challenged in the court over uniformity and equity issues, and there's little a county can do to defend outdated assessments. The result is often a court-ordered reassessment. One of the biggest challenges with our current base year assessment system is maintaining uniformity over time. If all property values changed at the same rate and at the same time, a base year system would work very well. However, that isn't how the real estate market functions. Property values often change unevenly. Some parts of a county might experience growth and rising values, while other areas might see declining values. Under our current base year system, those changes, whether at the market level or individual property level, aren't reflected in the current assessments. Some changes can be updated administratively by assessors, but others can't be corrected until the next countywide reassessment. We may see situations where a property is overassessed or underassessed, and in many cases, as assessors, our hands are tied. When the next reassessment is decades away, those uniformity issues and inequities only continue to grow. Long gaps between reassessments often lead to situations where similar properties today have drastically different base year assessments, which can result in significantly different tax bills. Assessments can also become more regressive over time, where our lower value properties end up paying a larger share of their market value than the higher value properties. And it's those lower value property owners that are most often the ones who can least afford to pay more in taxes. Right now, many counties are facing project costs for reassessment of $70 or more per parcel. Counties with a regular cycle, such as Lancaster County, which has maintained a consistent reassessment cycle for more than 20 years now, or Monroe County, which is updating its recent reassessment that was completed in 2020, are able to do the work for a fraction of that cost. Frequency helps keep costs down, improves data quality, reduces sticker shock, and also strengthens the public trust in the tax system. It's the difference between maintaining a system versus having to rebuild it from scratch after ignoring it for decades. This is where counties can realize cost savings, improve assessment performance, and build local competency to take on parts of the project in-house. As Dr. Kopko said, in Pennsylvania, reassessments must be revenue neutral. This is one of the most common misconceptions. Given this requirement, a reassessment does not raise taxes, it restores fairness, and simply results in the redistribution of the existing tax burden. This is one aspect of Pennsylvania's reassessment process that we've gotten right. Not all states have this requirement. As assessors, our responsibility is to maintain fairness, accuracy, transparency in the assessment process. This is a difficult task for assessors under our current base year system. And also, as Dr. Kopko has already said, counties are not asking the state to take over reassessments. They're asking for the tools, resources, and statewide structure needed to do the job well and make meaningful improvements to our current system, a discussion that has been ongoing for well over 40 years now. The AP stands ready to work with CCAP, county officials, and the legislature to modernize Pennsylvania's reassessment system in a way that benefits taxpayers and communities across the Commonwealth. I would like to introduce Frank Campbell, Perry County Commissioner, who will provide an overview of the county's reassessment that went into effect this year. Commissioner?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Josh. So I'm Frank Campbell. I serve as one of the Perry County Commissioners. So on behalf of Commissioners Watson and Lyons, greetings and welcome to Perry County. We're glad you're all here. I'm here today to give a local perspective on the reassessment process. As Perry County just completed a countywide reassessment in 2025. The decision to undertake a reassessment is one of the most significant decisions that commissioners can take because of the time involved, the money involved, and the amount of community interaction. You get a lot of interaction with the local folks through this process. It was determined back then with discussions with our assessment office that it was time to do a reassessment because property values had changed, and it was in the best interest of our residents to perform a reassessment. With Perry County's rural nature, over 83% of our acreage has some sort of tax value reduction, whether it's clean and green, state forests, state parks, exempt nonprofit or municipality land. So to that point, 17% of our acreage pays based on 100% of their property values. So it's very important. You know, we're saying fair and equitable shift or doing the burden of the taxes is fair. So to that point, local flexibility is important as counties have different market conditions, property types, administrative capacities. Perry County has a large number of businesses, but they're primarily small in nature, so that affects our tax base. A one-size-fits-all approach isn't the right one. It is important to have a current valuation of the property so there's an equitable sharing of the tax burden to all property owners that do pay based on 100% of their assessed value. Over the last 26 years, Perry County has had 3 county-wide reassessments. In this last reassessment, there's less than 8% of the parcels filed for a formal appeal. So I think that speaks somewhat to our success. Normally, the percentage of appeals is much higher than that. And, you know, we're thankful we had a great set of appeal board members that did a great job for us. So a predictable statewide framework would also help counties better budget and prepare for their individual needs. And one other thing is, it's very important when you're doing a reassessment that you keep out in front of it with the PR, because you're going to have people going on people's property, so they need to know what's going on. So I'd also like to credit our assessment department. They were very involved in the whole process, and they worked with the municipalities, the school districts, the other taxing authorities. As it was mentioned there, the revenue neutral part of the thing, it's not about raising taxes, it's about being fair. And so they went out to all the municipalities and school districts and helped them get to the revenue neutral thing. So Perry County's experience demonstrates that local reassessments are an important tool for maintaining fairness and equity within the property tax system. I'd like to thank you today for allowing me to share our experience, and I'd like this time to turn it over to our Deputy Assessor, Darla McNaughton.
Good afternoon. As Frank said, my name is Darla McNaughton. I serve as a Deputy Chief Assessor here in Perry County. Today I will discuss the reassessment process from the assessor's and the assessment office perspective a little bit and the work involved in making it a success. Once the decision was made to have a countywide reassessment, our office knew that much needed done. Our last reassessment was in 2010, so we knew that public relations and education were key. And that is something that I truly enjoy doing. And as with any subject, not just reassessment, the more knowledge we have, the more empowered we are to be able to make the right choices and the right decisions. And the less anxious or fearful of a process we become. To support that goal, the assessment office made a concentrated effort to engage with residents and provide information throughout the process. Myself and Chief Assessor Randy Wagner sent out letters to the 30 municipalities offering our attendance at their monthly meetings. Quite a few took us up on that. We did that in 2 cycles, mid-cycle and end cycle. Along with the commissioners in attendance, we were able to answer many questions and give explanations regarding concerns voiced by those in attendance. The county also held 2 town hall meetings. We also had a meeting with the school business offices to address any concerns or questions they had. These outreach efforts underscored the importance of transparency and consistent communication throughout the process. Based on our experience with the reassessment, we feel it would be beneficial to have cyclical reassessments. Accurate and up-to-date assessment records would be much more achievable. Property owners would have a better understanding of when a reassessment would take place and what to expect. The county would better know how to budget for reassessments moving forward. For me, understanding that every property owner in Perry County is paying a part of my salary has made me strive for transparency, communication, and education. 3 keys to a successful reassessment and a successful assessment office. So I just want to thank you for considering this, for listening to us, for your time and attention. I will now turn it over to Dr. Copo for closing remarks.
Thank you all very much. And today you've heard why reassessments matter, the challenges that counties face, and the practical reforms counties are proposing to create a system that is fair, predictable, and more sustainable. At its core, this conversation is about fairness. Property reassessments ensure that taxpayers are treated equitably. And counties are committed to that goal, but they need the resources and support necessary to carry out this responsibility effectively. Finally, thank you to our county leaders, our partners, members of the media who all have taken an interest in this issue here today. We look forward to continuing this conversation and working collaboratively to modernize Pennsylvania's reassessment system in a way that benefits counties, taxpayers, and communities across the Commonwealth. And we're going to wrap up by having the opportunity for one-on-one questions with our speakers here today. County commissioners are going to be to the audience's left, assessors to the audience's right, and we'll hang around until all questions are answered. Thank you all so much for being here today.